Thank you. So before I start, I just wanted to point out this is my first talk at a user group. So like all developers, I'm entirely comfortable addressing large groups of strangers. So if at any point I seem a bit nervous, it's probably just your imagination. So when I decided to give a talk, I found myself in a bit of a predicament because I wasn't really sure what to talk about. So now I've got a fairly diverse technical audience. You guys use different languages, different tools, different backgrounds. So I didn't really want to talk about a specific language or a specific tool because I felt that might alienate half the audience if I do that. So then I thought, why don't I talk about like test-driven development or design patterns or something like that? But everyone's heard about that before, probably a couple of times. So what I eventually decided on is something personal, something based on my own experiences. So throughout my career, I found myself developing an interest in teams, in team culture and how teams work, and what makes a good team, and how do people work together well. So I'm sure everyone works in a team. Do we have any like complete lone wolves in the audience? Anyone who always works on their own? That's going to suck. And that was not intended. Cool, so I wanted to start with a quote by Steve Jobs. It's not there now.
Okay.
Cool, so Steve Jobs said that great things in business are never done by one person, they're done by a team of people. And throughout my career I found myself on some pretty great teams and on teams that really weren't all that great. And those teams generally aren't a fun place to be. Now, right now, I'm lucky enough to be on what might be the best team that I've ever been on. So I wanted to unpack why I think we've got such a great team and things that we do differently from other teams that I've been on. So I've narrowed it down to 5 core principles: values, purpose, respect, learning, and fun. Now, a very interesting comment that my boss made when I did a dry run of this presentation is that a team is more than just a bunch of people working off the same backlog. That's just individuals, and what makes a team. Now, when I first arrived at the company where I work now, I just paid a visit to the team. It wasn't a formal interview or something, but when I walked in, there was this document on the wall that caught my eye. And the very cool thing about that was it immediately told me what this team is all about. So it's a team agreement, and that's something that was compiled by the team for the team. And it's actually as a constant reminder of what do we believe in as a team, how do we choose to work. And the interesting thing about that team agreement is the one that's up there now is not the one that was there when I joined, because it's a document that evolves. The team's changed, we've got new people, some old people left, and therefore it's not the same team anymore. Therefore we have to come up with a new team agreement. So on there you'll see a couple of things that I will touch on again later. Respect, we endeavour to solve the right problems, we leave no one behind when learning our craft. So learning in particular is a very important thing to a smart team. And if at any point you feel like you want to interrupt, you want to share a story, something that really hits home, please do. So the second thing, our purpose. As developers, do we exist purely to write code? Is that what we're there for? Anyone? I want some interaction on this. So, as developers, we don't exist to write code. We exist in organizations in order to add value. We solve problems. We do things for people that they need. So if we build products, we add value by giving a company something they can sell. If we support the line of business, we keep our company running. So we add value. And that's something that we emphasize on our Kanban board as well. We don't track work, we track value that we add to our users. Now our definition of done in our team is not the standard, it's been tested, it's been deployed, it's in production. Our definition of done is it's adding value to someone. I see Candace is smiling, she likes that.
I love that.
But that's where you come from, right?
Yes, my handwriting was in the previous slide.
So, the next thing, respect. I think a scary thing in teams is when you see people that are completely ignored because there's perception that this person is too junior or too new, their opinion doesn't really count. That's something that we actively work against in our team because everyone has something valuable to contribute. And we deal with individuals. We've got real, actual people, not this concept of resources in a company. So an important thing that comes out of that is we don't do 12-hour days. Generally, we do 8-hour days and we're out of there because we recognize that people have things outside of work that they need to do. Now, you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of your family, and as soon as your job takes it away from you, it becomes a miserable environment. In fact, I remember my very first stand-up with one of the guys who used to be on the team. Didn't even know how we got to that discussion, but something that he said that really resonated with me is, first we are people, then we are workers. I think a couple of the guys in the audience probably remember Oz.
He's still alive.
He's still alive, he's just not on my team anymore, sadly. So the other thing that we value, learning. So we realize that IT is an industry that's constantly changing. There's always something new that we have to learn. And ultimately, we are just craftsmen on a journey. So very, very cool thing in my team is on Friday afternoons, even in the mornings, we get time to spend dedicated to learning. So we have these sessions where we might watch a talk by someone like Uncle Bob on a Friday afternoon, or we might actually get someone in the team to present something that they are familiar with to the rest of the team and actually share that knowledge within the team. So anyway, it's really productive on a Friday afternoon anyway. How much value do you get by trying to force people to work on a Friday afternoon? Next thing, key question in our stand-ups, which is also something that I've never seen anywhere else. What did we learn and want to share? So it's actively encouraged in the team, go out, learn stuff, bring it back to the rest of the team. Other thing we do that I haven't seen very often, mob programming. Don't know if anyone knows what mobbing is and what it involves. Is anyone not familiar with mob programming? So do you guys know pair programming? Except next to one guy working it. Mobbing is essentially that on steroids. So you've got a whole team of people navigating and one person driving. It's a really cool and interesting and initially a challenging way of working, but it works well. So it means that you sit there every day and you learn from everyone in your team and they get to learn from you because everyone's working together. And then finally our retrospectives. In my view, a retrospective is one of the most valuable places for a team to identify where the issues are and how they can fix them and improve as a team. Finally, fun. What's a team without fun? So, coffee runs. How many of you do coffee runs with the rest of your team? I've been on teams where that was actually actively discouraged because you've got these expensive resources who are now not at their desks, they're off somewhere else doing something, which is just terrible because how much value do your teams get just from like 10 minutes of socializing? You get to know each other, you get to step away from your desk and solve problems somewhere else. There's often this perception that it's not okay to have fun at work. I think you should have fun at work. In fact, we've got a foosball table in the office. What you can see in the background there is our Kanban board. So our foosball table is as much of a part of who we are as our Kanban board. Fun is built into the culture of the team. Moving on, how do I develop a great team? This is a difficult question, especially if you find yourself in a position where you're not a manager or you're not a team lead and you don't really feel like you have that authority to change a team. But it's quite simple. It starts with respect. Respect the people you work with, respect your colleagues, respect their opinions. And then your interview process. One thing that I think really helps us to maintain our team culture is we do full team interviews. So it's not a scenario where you have a manager and maybe an architect or a senior dev and they decide who comes into the team. The entire team gets to be involved in that decision. And then, again, socialize. Do your coffee runs, engage with your team, have fun. And then allow your retrospectives to be a safe place where people can voice their concerns and where you can actually address that. Especially if you tend to be one of the stronger, more dominant personalities in that retro, step back and allow other people to air their views. Don't defend, don't argue, just listen. Thinking back, one of the worst and scariest retros that I've ever been in was when someone in the retro raised a point that they've got this concern, but they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid that they'll be victimized afterwards. How terrible is that in a team? Now, bad teams, just a brief primer on bad teams. In a bad team, people are minions. They have to do stuff, they do what they're told, and that's it. So it was a question or something like that. And again, people don't get to have opinions in bad teams because the boss is right, and if you disagree with the boss, you're wrong. People live in fear. That's how you end up with retros where people don't want to voice their concerns. And bad teams function at full capacity all the time. Anyone's ever felt like they're burning out? Not a good place to be. And then people are treated as resources, not as individuals. You don't want to be a resource. You're a person. It comes back to respect. And then finally, bad teams. You've got all this corporate politics filtering down into your team. It's not something you want. A good manager with a good team shields his people from that. Finally, what happens if I'm on a bad team? Well, discuss it. Take it up with your teammates, take it up with your manager, raise those concerns, try and be proactive about it. And if that doesn't work, leave that team. Life is too short to be miserable and to work in a place that makes you miserable. That's me. I do enjoy bad puns, so I think I would throw at least one in there.